What will you miss most about China?
The safety, definitely.
Mm,
Because I think in France we really have a negative opinion on the cameras that are in China.
yeah.
But actually, for me, I think that's what makes it really safe, or at least I feel safe about it. And it's not just a feeling because you can leave anything, any personal belonging, anywhere, probably, I guess, and you can come back and it's still here.
Laida Wadajemu, welcome back to my channel. Very soon, I'll be introducing my guest to share her experiences about China. If it's something you like to watch, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hi!
Hello.
Welcome to my channel.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a student in China. I've been studying in China for 1 year already. So it's the second year of my master's degree. I did the first one in Paris, and now I'm in Fudan University studying international relations.
Okay, okay. So I assume you're a French lady, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I forgot to mention.
Then, bon arrivé.
Why am I there?
I'm saying bon arrivé.
Ah, yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, my French is that bad. Anyway, so you said you started your studies in Paris and then you
Mhm.
are here in China. But why China? Did you have to choose China or what were the options and why China?
Well, actually, the reason why I chose this degree is because I knew that the second year would be in China. So it was specifically because it took place in China that I applied. So I've always been interested in Asia. In high school, I used to learn Japanese. And then for my bachelor's degree, I switched to Chinese. And my bachelor was related to China. It was more of a business, let's say, yeah, business studies. And then I did also an internship in China during the third year. And then I saw my current double degree, which took place like 1 year took place in China. And so I applied because I liked China. I had already been there. I wanted to improve my Chinese. And so that's why.
Oh, okay. You mentioned you studied Japanese and now Chinese. How difficult or how easy is it to learn other languages?
I think it depends on the language, but because I studied Japanese before, Chinese seems a bit easier, I guess, because I already know some characters, and also in Chinese, grammar is very difficult. And in Chinese, grammar is almost non-existent compared to Japanese. So that was really a nice, advantage. But I think it depends. For me, it can be difficult, but I love it, so I don't really mind, even though
Oh,
it's a
okay.
difficult language to learn.
Okay. I guess you're very good in speaking Chinese now.
Not so much actually, because I expected to also really improve my Chinese, but this year I had so many other courses and the thesis as well. And so actually Chinese lessons were the very last thing I studied. So I improved, but not as much as I would have wanted to improve.
Okay. Okay. Is coming to China the first time you ever traveled outside France?
No, no, no. I went to Japan when I was 16. I went to Morocco, Canada, several EU countries as well. Yeah,
Oh,
so I
okay.
traveled outside of Europe and
Okay.
France.
Okay. Before coming to China, did you have any perceptions? Did you have any stereotypes about China?
Yeah, I had many stereotypes about China because I think in France I only saw what was broadcasted on TV, which was, I don't think, really positive, or I didn't watch the right channels to see good news about China, probably. But I expected it to be very. For example, I thought that policemen were everywhere and that
Mm,
I don't know, you couldn't. really move freely. And I also thought that it was very crowded on the street and that you couldn't walk somehow, because I only saw the videos of, for example, Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
Basically, I didn't know anything about China, and I surely didn't know how modern it was either.
Mm. Yeah, okay. Okay. Um, and what were some of the things you were expecting to see here in China?
Mm, and that I saw when I arrived, or things that were different.
Mm,
Well, I don't know actually. I think I didn't really have a good idea of what
mm,
China was, and that's why I wanted to go. And I yeah, I just discovered so many things, and I discovered also that my Chinese was not as good as I thought it was.
mm, mm.
I arrived and I started speaking with Chinese people, and I didn't understand a thing. Um, yeah, and also the differences between provinces, I had no idea they could be that great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 So what was your first impression, um, the moment you arrived here in China?
I think it was very positive. When I arrived for the first time, it was for my internship during my bachelor's degree. I arrived in Canton, so in Guangzhou,
Mm-hmm.
and we immediately got. I mean, our company, because we were several students to go there, they really took care of us. So we had no idea we arrived. We didn't really speak Chinese. We had no idea
Mm,
where we were supposed to go, and so they took care of everything. So they were really nice, and I didn't expect such a warm welcome. They really, I think it's also something that we can see from maybe Confucian values, like the
yeah.
idea of helping others and so on. So that was really a nice thing, and that gave me a really good impression of Chinese people and how they welcome strangers.
Yeah. I know France is one country that welcomes everyone from any part of the world, and it's same with China. How was it like to be in a school where you find people from all over the world?
Mm, So in Fudan, yeah, we have people from various backgrounds, and that's really awesome because I think sometimes I mean, in my French university, there were also many people who came from all over the world. But somehow, I don't know, I was in France, so it was an environment that I was really used to.
Mm,
And coming out here, I discovered so many other point of views and habits, so cultural differences as well. And I think it really broadened my view of things somehow, and also
mm,
discovering a new system in China. At first, there can be maybe a cultural shock when you're like, why do
yeah.
they do this? That's so
Mm,
weird. And then you get used to it and you think maybe well, for me, out of the French box, let's say.
mm, yeah. Okay. So you mentioned cultural shocks. I would have mentioned that eventually, but let's just mention some of the cultural shocks you've experienced here in China.
Yeah, so for example, there are many actually, but now I'm very used to it. But at first, when I arrived, I don't know why it was stronger than when I came for the internship. So for
Mm,
example, how they drive is a bit different from France.
mm,
It's a bit less, I'd say, less organized. And also
mm,
in France, for example, when we honk at somebody, it means that we're very, very angry. But in
yeah.
China, they do it all the time. So for me, whenever I got honked at, I felt so offended. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What did I do? This, or for example, they for example, when somebody bumps into you, they won't necessarily say sorry. It's just normal. They
Yeah.
will just,
Mm,
go on with their life. But in France, it can be very rude not to say
mm.
anything. So it's maybe like very small differences. Yeah, like manners are very different in France and in China.
Okay. As a student, are there any differences? Are there any similarities between the schools here and the schools in France?
I've noticed something. I don't know if it's something that's really generalizable, but I've had the impression that at least Chinese, I can't say Asian students, but Chinese students, it looks like they participate a bit less in class, or they will maybe question less the professors, at least openly. Whereas in France, it's really valued to do this. And if you don't participate, it's really not a good thing. I think that was the main difference I noticed, and also because it's a different university. So here at Fudan, it's focused more on research, which was not the case in France. But that's just a difference, an academic difference.
Okay.
Oh, and
Um,
another thing. Sorry, another thing. I think Chinese students are way more dedicated to their studies in general, and they can reply text 24/7. Really, they work way more, I think, than we do in France.
Well, I think that is so because of one, the population, and I think in as much as they have a lot of schools here in China, I feel the schools are still not enough because of their population, and then resulting in competition. So it's
Yeah,
like survival of the fittest kind of.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yes. Anyway, how is it like to be a foreigner here in China?
Well, I think it's really nice because we kind of have a preferential treatment somehow, which I
Mm,
don't think should really be the case. But I mean, that's how it is, right?
mhm,
So I think we get treated very well because we're foreigners.
yeah.
And so, for example, I mean, also probably you've had that people who just come up to you and ask if they can take pictures and so
Mm,
on. So it can be fun at the beginning. Sometimes it can be a bit annoying, but overall, I think it's really, yeah, it's a good experience, I guess.
okay. Um, any bad experiences so far?
Yeah, well, I know that you interviewed my friend Ophélie, and I think we have the
Mm,
same bad experience. So we got scammed together
mm,
in
oh,
Guilin. So yeah, we were on a taxi, we were in a Didi,
mm,
and basically the guy just tried to scam us and to ask for more money while we were in the mountain. So he
mm,
said, if you don't pay me more, I just drop you here and I leave in the middle of nowhere.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
that's what happened. But
Yeah.
I think it was the only time we really got scammed like that.
Mm, mm. I always want my subscribers and those who watch my video to know that we say more of the positives than the negatives. And this coming thing is everywhere. I believe if it was in my country, they will try to take advantage of you because you're a foreigner and it
Yeah,
happens
definitely. Yeah,
everywhere.
probably.
Yeah. So guys, don't get it wrong. There's something that happens everywhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, any favorite Chinese food?
Mm, I like one that's really basic. Actually, it's like 西红柿炒鸡蛋. So like the eggs and the
Mm,
tomato and rice. That's
yeah.
really good.
Mm,
And also I like 北京烤鸭.
mm,
Mm, there are actually so many foods. I can't even think of one. I like their soups as well. I like the fact that they stir fry everything. Yeah.
mm. Anyway, have you traveled to other parts of China?
Yeah, so I went to Beijing with my family. I went to Guilin. I went to Lijiang and Shangri-La. I went
Mm,
as well to Sanya, Suzhou, Hangzhou, and also last year, I mean 2 years ago for my internship, I was also in Guangzhou and
okay.
then Jiangsu.
Okay, okay. You initially mentioned the differences in these provinces. How different are they from one another?
Well, the food first. I mean, probably we can see it more with Sichuan, which is really
Mm,
spicy. I didn't go yet, but I know that the food is different.
mm,
In Guangdong, I remember that I thought that the food was a bit spicy as well, and when I came to Shanghai, it was a bit sweeter, and also the accent is really different, and I think that's what really shocked me. So I
Mm,
had a manager who was from Guangzhou, and I mean my Chinese is not fluent, so obviously there are moments I won't understand what the person is saying,
mm,
even if they don't have a specific accent, but my manager, he had a very very strong Cantonese accent, and so for me it was really really hard to understand what he was saying. Yeah.
mm. Okay. And you initially or I initially asked you about some bad experiences. Any good experiences?
So many good experiences. Oh yes, actually I have one that's also in Guilin. So
Mm,
we booked a tour with our hotel. So they were selling tours, 1 day tours with a guide.
mm,
And since we didn't really know how to go to the place we wanted to see, we decided to take that. But actually, we didn't really understand what was the tour. But anyway, so it was in a big bus with other tourists, Chinese tourists, and so everything was in Chinese. So we didn't really understand. And at one point, the guide just took a random guy from the bus and told him, just take care of them for today. And so basically we ended up with kind of a babysitter for us.
mm.
So the guy was just really nice, and he had no reason whatsoever to do this for us, but he was so
Yeah.
nice. He even invited us for lunch, and he tried to explain us what we were gonna do next. And so we were really surprised. He was very very nice, and we had the same experience this weekend. Actually, we went to Zhangjiajie, and we got a bit lost at the end of the day. We're supposed to leave the park, but we couldn't really find the exit and so on. And
Mm,
so a Chinese family was in the same situation, and they basically said like just follow us, and they helped us calling just to get buses to take us to the exit, cable cars because they were closed and so on. So yeah, that was very nice of them.
okay. Um, any differences in the weather? Yeah,
In the
differences.
weather,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm,
Uh, yeah, actually, I maybe Beijing is a bit similar, I guess, to Paris. But here, well, at least Guangzhou, it was a very big difference, and Shanghai a bit as well. It's a bit more
mm,
tropical than the northern part of France, and typhoons, we don't have them in France at all.
mm.
So we
Okay.
had one in Shanghai, I think it was in November or something, and it was the very first big typhoon I had. So I was a bit stressed out. I had put some tape around my window because I was so afraid that the window would break. But actually, yeah, it was fine.
Okay. Okay. Are you in China with your family?
No, I'm by myself, but my family came to visit the first time my boyfriend came in January,
Mm,
and then my mother and my sister came like 1 month ago.
okay. Okay. So aside the fact that your family came to visit recently, how is it like to live in China without family?
I think it's a bit particular in this case because I luckily got the dormitories. So I'm currently living at Fudan University. So I'm surrounded by my friends, and every day I eat at the canteen. So I'm never really alone, which really helps because I think being far away from your family, and especially if I don't know, if you don't really make friends, it can be a bit hard and you can feel lonely. But in my case, it was completely different, and I had a lot of fun, although I was not with my family.
Okay. Um, are there any similarities? Are there any differences between China and France?
In what way? Cultural or?
Culture, in terms of development, in terms of the people?
Mm, uh, I wasn't really expecting that before, but the technology in China is crazy. Um, Mainly, the main point I think is the QR codes that are everywhere. In
Yeah.
France, for the subway, we still use tickets or a card, but we don't use QR codes. Same
Mm,
for payments, we use cash or a bank card. And in China, it's completely different. And another thing is the fact that everything can be centralized through one. I think there's a special word for that, like super app or
mm,
something, like
yeah.
WeChat. And that's really convenient. Even if you don't have an app, you can just go on WeChat and you have a mini program, so you don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily need to download anything else.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference. Um, what else? Also something a bit, yeah, out of the blue, but I remember when I was doing my internship, I was following my manager when he went to see clients, when he was doing business meetings, business lunch, for example. And I discovered I don't know if it's a thing, the drinking culture,
Mm,
to really create, I don't know, links with other people.
mm.
And so I didn't expect them to drink that much during business meetings.
Okay. Okay. Aside schooling, do you do any other thing in China, like business?
No, I don't.
No,
I
okay,
don't.
cool. Okay,
And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I saw that we could do an internship during our second semester, but I had to gather all of my classes for the first semester, which I didn't. So I had more time to study, and I traveled also a bit during the semesters.
Mm, okay. If you were to carry something from China to France, what would it be?
A rice cooker,
Rice cooker? Not a
maybe.
technology?
Rice cooker, technology as well. Yeah, actually, I bought some technological products.
Mm,
I bought a set of headphones, pair of
mm,
headphones that were really cheap compared to what I could have had in France, and they're really good actually. So that also clothes, because clothes are cheaper. And
mm,
either way, in France, I think we buy clothes that can come from China. So why
yeah.
not just buy them here?
Okay. What will you miss most about China?
The safety, definitely.
Mm,
Because I think in France we really have a negative opinion on the cameras that are in China. But
yeah.
actually, for me, I think that's what makes it really safe, or at least I feel safe about it. And it's not just a feeling, because you can leave anything, any personal belonging, anywhere, probably, I guess, and you can come back and it's still here, which
Mm,
would never be the case in France. And so in France, I'm always a bit paranoid. I mean, France is not the worst country when it
yeah.
comes to safety, but for example, I remember I was in the Parisian subway, and I was late for an assignment for my bachelor's degree. So I just took out my computer and I started to work on it while being on the subway.
Mm,
And I remember somebody just came up to me and told me, "You should not do that. You're gonna get your computer stolen." And I was so scared after that. I was like, oh no, somebody's just gonna grab it and leave.
yeah.
And I think in China, I don't know, I don't feel like it could happen
Mm-hmm.
that easily. So that's a really nice feeling. You can walk around at night by yourself, even if you're a woman by yourself, it's okay and you feel
Yeah.
safe. Yeah.
Okay. Um, any final words?
I would advise to people, no matter their nationality, French, of course, but other countries as well, to go to
Mm,
China and not to have a preconceived idea of how it is, by watching the news or so on. And it might actually be way better than what you think it is.
yeah.
So you can be surprised in a very good way. So you should just go to China.
Yeah, yeah. And watch my videos because you get to learn more about
Exactly.
China from my videos.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyway, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
too.
I'm very grateful.
I hope it's
Yeah.
going to be useful for
Yes,
the
it will.
future.
It will. Yeah. Okay, guys, if you enjoyed watching, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.
Bye.